قالوا الله كان هذا هو الحق من عندك فأمطر علينا حجارة من السماء أو ائتنا بعذاب أليم وما كان الله ليعذبهم وأنت فيهم وما كان الله معذبهم وهم يستغفرون وما لهم ألا يعذبهم الله وهم يصدون عن المسجد الحرام وما كانوا أولياءه إن أولياؤه إلا المتقون ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون وما كان صلاتهم عند البيت إلا مكاء وتصدية فذوقوا العذاب بما كنتم تكفرون
Please open your video and unmute yourself. We don't have time. The time is going.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I hear you now. Can you hear me?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We can hear you.
Okay.
MashaAllah.
Now.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We start in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. And we seek his blessings and peace for the noblest of the prophets, our greatest mentor, our master, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his household, his companions, and all those who follow his path to the day of judgment. I welcome you all to the 12th mentorship session of the MUNFIQ 2023 MUNFIQ Islamic Finance Mentorship Program, which is to be held today, Sunday, 4th of May, 2023. Just as we have been bringing insightful topics of discourse to this forum virtually every week, we have also got in the field of Islamic finance. And the topic of today is Islamic intellectual property within the Islamic property legal regime in Nigeria. Opportunities for Islamic finance industry. Before I proceed, as the anchor of today's program, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Atanda Taiwo Mutiu, a graduate of business administration from the prestigious Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto. And by the mercy of Allah, I graduated as the best student of the department in the year 2009. Also, I proceeded to have my Masters of Business Administration in the same university, Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, where again, I emerged as the best student of the department, and this earned me the prestigious Tony Elumelu Foundation Prize for Excellence in the year 2012. I'm a chartered accountant and a financial modeler. I've held several roles in established public companies in Nigeria in the last 10 years. Currently, I'm the financial accountant of Barr Cement PLC. Prior to that, I was the finance business partner of Honeywell Flour Mills PLC, Lagos. And to inform you, I also started my career as an a trainee accountant with the Cement Company of Northern Nigeria PLC, Sokoto, in the year 2012. I'm an Islamic finance enthusiast, and my aspiration, I'm also a mentor in this program. I mean, I'm a mentee in this program. And after this program, my aspiration is to become an Islamic social finance specialist with special reference to Waqfu and to become a Waqfu manager. Thank you very much. Before I proceed to read the citation of today's lecturer and facilitator, I would like to tell you the order of today's program. After this brief introduction by myself, I'm going to read the profile of our facilitator for today's program, after which he will proceed with his lecture for about 45 minutes to 1 hour. After the presentation, contributors will give us contribution from our mentors, because we have mentors in this program and they are the ones that are also guiding this program. So any contribution from them will be welcome for about 15 minutes, after which question and answer sessions will be entertained for about 30 minutes. After this, we are going to present the certificate of appreciation to our facilitator. Then we can share our photograph to have a photograph for this today's session. So let me start by introducing our today's lecturer. He's an expert, an erudite scholar in the field of intellectual property. I'm introducing to you no other person than Barrister Abdullateef Abdullahi Abduleteef of Ilorin. Barrister Abdullateef Abdullahi, also known as Ibn Abdullah Asudesi Al-Ilori, is a lawyer, marriage counselor, writer, reciter, and public affairs analyst. He graduated from the University of Ilorin in the year 2009 with LLB Sharia and Common Law. He attended Abuja Law School campus and he was called to Barr in 2010. He joined the service of the Nigeria Copyright Commission, NCC, in the year 2013 as a prosecutor of copyright offenders. He also obtained his Masters of Law, LLM, from the same University of Ilorin. He has 4 professional certificates of the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, to his credit. Abdullateef is the founder and proprietor of Mawada Consult, home of Islamic finance counseling in Ilorin, Kwara State, Nigeria. He is also the executive manager of today's public books, one of which is Polygyny with Mercy, a synopsis of plural marriage Islamic law, that is the Sharia law. It is my pleasure today to hand over the mic to our guest speaker and presenter of today's lecture, Barrister Abdullateef Abdullahi. Barrister, you have the floor, sir. Thank you very much.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله إن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله
wa
وبركاته.
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
All praise is due to Allah. We thank Him, we glorify Him. May His peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his household, the companions, and all of us that are trying to follow their path to the day of resurrection. In the first place, I want to thank the organizers of this reputable forum. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to strengthen them. MUNFIQ Islamic Finance Fellowship. Particularly, I thank my mentor, my teacher, my brother, Dr. Abdullahi Abdullateef. Almighty Allah continue to be with you. Thanks for inviting me for this lecture. May Allah make it beneficial to each and every one of us all. The topic of discussion today, without wasting much of our time, is Islamic intellectual property within the IP legal regime in Nigeria. Opportunities for Islamic finance industry. In discussing this topic, I have tried my best to prepare what we know as PowerPoint to aid this discussion. And let's make it easy. So by way of introduction, we are going to discuss the concept of IP from the conventional point of view and its divisions. Then we are also going to talk about how IPs can be protected, IP rights can be protected. Then we move on to discuss the Islamic perspective of IP. We are going to ask the question whether or not Islamic law is able to accommodate the principle of IP, that is intellectual property. Then we will then move on to opportunities that are available for Islamic finance experts in the field of IP, especially in Nigeria, but not also in Nigeria, but at the global level. We must understand the fact that the world is now a global village. An inventor is not expected to limit himself to his environment these days. He can connect to the world through the internet. And this is what we are trying to propagate. May Allah make it easy for us. And at the end of the discussion, we are going to have a conclusion in form of recommendations. May Allah make it easy for us. The next slide, please. So by way of introduction, we need to understand what IP is all about. This field of knowledge is described as a cumbersome area of knowledge that people find very difficult to understand. So the purpose of this introductory aspect is for us to be exposed to the concept of IP and what it is all about. So the first point we need to understand is that IP is all about the use of human brain or idea to create new things that will be beneficial. So IP is all about being new in what you want to present to the world. We all know as students, as undergraduate students, as postgraduate students, whenever we want to write thesis, the supervisor will be asking us, the major question they will be asking us, what are you adding to the knowledge? What is the new thing that you want to introduce that has never been in place? We all know that in research, we try our best to put some things together, but there is nothing we are going to put together that are new. But as a researcher, you are expected to have one thing that is new that you are going to contribute to knowledge. So this is what IP is all about. That new thing that you are contributing to knowledge is one of the most important aspects of intellectual property. It means that you are using your brain to solve some problems for the society. Let me give an example. Recently, I read on Facebook that there is a particular software that if you download, or let me say application, that if you download to your phone, we are having a Zoom meeting now. And you know, sometimes you'll be hearing background noise from these different places based on the fact that the person who is attending the meeting is not able to leave that environment. So they now said there is a particular application that if you download it on Google Play Store, you install it in your phone and you activate it, it will erase all the background noise that can affect the meeting that you're trying to attend. You can see it is all about people sitting down to think about what other people need that will assist them to achieve their aims and objectives in life. And you come out with something new that will assist them to solve their problems. So this is what IP is all about. You can see that this application has solved the problem of background noise. So I just want us to get the purpose of IP. And that is what IP is all about, creating new things so that people can enjoy and it is beneficial to them. Even this Zoom that we are using is a product of IP. Before COVID-19, many of us don't know about Zoom. So, but during the lockdown, everybody was confused. We didn't even know how to go about our activities. So Zoom became something that was popular. So a lot of people started using it. So, and this brings a lot of benefits to those who created it in the first place. So this now takes us to the second point, which means that IP is an intangible asset. It's an asset that you may not be able to touch like this. You know, when you have a property, you have a building, a house, you can touch it. You have a car, you can touch it. But what you have in your brain is untouchable. It is you that has it. So now let us move to the next point, which is the fact that IP is all about getting rewards for creativity. So what you have in your brain is not enough. You have to use it to solve some problems. And that is what we call creativity. So from that asset that you have the opportunity of being rewarded for creativity that emanates from the use of your brain to create beneficial things for people to enjoy. This Zoom that we are using now, we have paid to use it. Some people might be asking the question, where did we pay? The data that we are using is a kind of payment to those who created Zoom in the first place, because all these network managers would have to pay Zoom at the end of the day. Then IP is the exclusive right that is granted to an inventor to use or control the use of his invention for a certain period of time. So part of the characteristics of IP is for us to note that anyone who creates something that is beneficial, such a person has exclusive right over what he has created. He is the one that is in control of all activities regarding that thing that he has created. So he is the one that has the power to grant any other person the opportunity to benefit from that thing. For instance, as a writer, you write a book. You are the only one that has the exclusive right to publish it. You cannot take the work of another person and begin to publish. As a general rule, it is not allowed. So it is from the major principles of IP for us to know that the creator of the work has exclusive right to deal with that work. Let us go to the next slide, please. Now, IP is divided into two parts, two major parts. We have the aspect that has to do with industrial property. You can see when at the beginning of the discussion, they are telling us that IP is a chosen action, is a property that is intangible, something that you cannot touch, unlike some other assets. So we have now divided them, the scholars have divided them into two parts. The first part is the industrial property. Talking about the industrial property, it has to do with patent. Many people will be hearing patent, and they will be confusing it with some other aspect of IP. Some people even think that patent and copyright, they are the same. They are not the same. The purpose of this discussion is for us to get a clear picture of all these concepts for better usage in the future. So patent has to do with inventions in science and technology. So if you have something that you have created in the area of science and technology, so the only way by which you can protect that work is for you to apply for patent regarding it, so that you can protect it from being used by several other people. The second one, which is a form of industrial property, is trademark. Trademark is a form of industrial property because it has a lot to do with commercial activities. You cannot find a company or a business these days, except all these petty business. Even many of the petty businesses are now having logos. They are having their marks, they are having their slogans, they are having labels. So these are examples of trademarks. So if you have a logo for your business, you need to protect it by filing a kind of application before the trademark office. Then the major part of IP that everyone usually talk about is the copyright. That copyright is divided into different parts. One of the parts of copyright is the literary works. Examples of these are books, novels, articles in journals, articles on blogs, poems, business proposals, scripts, lyrics, even your Facebook posts, your Twitter posts. All of these things, they are literary works. You can protect them. And one thing about copyright, as we are going to be seeing later, is that it is automatically protected. Unlike patent, trademark, you will have to file, you have to register them before you can be protected. But in the case of copyright, you need not register, but registration will confer more credibility to your work. So another aspect of copyright is artistic work. Examples of these are drawing, sculpture, painting, molding, photography, even wood carving, then architectural designs. All of these things, they are artistic works. So as an architect, you should know that when you have drawn an architectural work, you may be required to protect it so that other people will not come and steal it from you. So we also have musical works in the form of songs and things that look like that. So under copyright, take it back to the. So under copyright, the next slide, please. The next slide. Are you there? So under copyright, we also have cinematograph films, but in the new Copyright Act, Nigerian Copyright Act, instead of cinematograph films, it is now audiovisual works in form of movies, dramas, skits, and so on. They are also protected under copyright. And broadcast, all the things that radio stations, TV stations are doing, journalism, news, reality shows, everything has to do with broadcast. They are also protected under copyright. Then sound recording. Then other forms of industrial property that we have not mentioned. Please go back to the is industrial design. So we have given the examples of that. So you have designed a particular cloth. You know, these days people go to the internet, especially on Instagram, they find people posting the kind of fashion styles that they have done. And you see some other people pick the picture up and begin to post it all about, claiming that it is their own work. As a shoe maker, you are not expected to go and take the work of another person. You should also design your own and protect whatever you are able to design. Then trade secrets. An example of this is what Coca-Cola uses that makes its product different from other products. The case of noodles is also very relevant. When you are taking Indomie noodles, you know that it's different from mini-me. So all of these things are things that can be protected. Let us move to the next slide. So the question is, how is IP to be protected? Like I said earlier, copyright works enjoy automatic protection based on the provisions of Berne Convention. So all over the world, when somebody creates any work that falls under copyright that we have just explained, it means that that work is automatically protected. You write a book, even when you have not published it, but you have tried your best to produce a manuscript in respect of that, that book is already protected. If another person steals anything from that book, you have the right to sue that person to court, or report the case to the Nigerian Copyright Commission for a criminal action. And in this case, both the criminal action and the civil action can go on at the same time. And it is important for us to also note that the only court that has jurisdiction over copyright matters is the Federal High Court and not any other court. Federal High Court with headquarters in Abuja and judicial divisions all over the country. So what I'm saying here is that once you write a book, even when you have not registered it with Nigerian Copyright Commission, that book is automatically protected. I hope we are getting it now. So, but to give that work more credibility, it is always important to still register the work with the Nigerian Copyright Commission, because Nigerian Copyright Commission has created a kind of bank for copyright works. So you would want your work to also be listed under the works that is registered with the Nigerian Copyright Commission. So you have written a book. So when there is any case before the court, if anybody is contesting that is the owner of your work that he has plagiarized or that he has stolen, one of the proofs that you can give to the court is that, okay, I am the one that registered this work and this is my work. So we can see the benefits in registering our works now. But before a copyright work can be protected, it must comply with two conditions. One of the conditions is that it is not the idea that is protected. Yes, you have the idea in your brain. You may tell another person that idea, and that person might put that idea into writing. Some people can even write a book from the idea you express to them. And once they write that book, the idea no longer belongs to you. So it is not the idea that you have in your head that is protected. You have to do more than that idea that is in your head. For instance, somebody thinks about a particular movie. So in his head, and he narrates the story to another person. That person went ahead and created a script regarding it, and now create a film regarding it. Does that work belong to you? It doesn't belong to you. It means that you have to do more than the idea that you have in your head. You have to go ahead to put it in a fixed minimum of expression. So if you have an idea, the best thing is for you to put it either in a book, or write it as a story, or write it as a poem. That is when it will be protected. And the second condition is originality, is that you must be the originator of that work. It should not be the work of another person. There are some people, we witnessed this when we were in school then. Some people will go to the shelves of different faculties in different schools. They will not pick the projects on those shelves. The only thing that will be different between the project and their own acclaimed project is just their name and their matric number. They will erase the name of the person on the project and put their name there. Some people now think that, okay, they are now getting people in Nigeria, people who plagiarize projects of other people. They are getting them. So they go as far as other countries to steal projects and claim them to be their own here in Nigeria. But thank God, the world is now a global village. There is no way you will steal another person's work now that will not be gotten. So at the end of the day, some people would have become professor in their field. Some people would have acquired PhD. And all these titles will be stripped from all these titles because they are plagiarized the works of other. And when we talk of plagiarism, it's not just by you paraphrasing the work of another person. If you paraphrase, you still have to put the name of the person that you got the idea from. So let us know this very well. So the sector that is in charge of registration of copyright works is the NCC, and this is the major agency of the federal government responsible for IP matters in Nigeria. Let us move to the next slide. The good news for us in Nigeria today is that apart from NCC and apart from all the departments of the Federal Ministry of Commerce and Industry, where we have departments for the purpose of registering patents and trademarks. In Nigeria, we now have WIPO office. WIPO office used not to be in Nigeria. World Intellectual Property Organization office is now in Nigeria, based in Abuja. So we have a lot to do with this organization. If you think that you have any initiative in mind, we can collaborate with them. Even after this discussion that we are having regarding IP and Islamic finance, there are ways by which we can present this idea to WIPO and also carry the Director General of the NCC along this matter, and probably involve some other stakeholders whose activities are in consonance with what we are doing here. For example, the Islamic commercial banks, and let me make it easy for us. So the industrial property aspect of IP, on the other hand, must be registered before they can be protected. This is what I said earlier. So apart from IP, other forms of IP must be protected must be protected through registration. So, but in addition, before an invention can be patented, there are some things that must be put in place. That invention must satisfy these conditions that we are going to mention. One of them is that it must be entirely new. You don't come up with something that a lot of people have been doing before. If you have to come up with something that people have been doing before, then you have to show us, you have to show the government an aspect of your own work that is entirely different from the previous works. This is one of the conditions that will make your work to qualify for registration. Then that invention in the area of science and technology must have inventive steps not known to experts in that area, except you. You as an expert in an area, if you invent something, the secret of that invention is only in your hand and not in another person's hand. All you want to do now is just to show that, okay, you have been able to invent something that is different from what other people have been doing. So those steps that you go through while trying to produce that work, you must be able to explain them. Then the third one is that it must be capable of being used in an industry, which means that it must be capable of being reproduced into different types. I hope we are getting it. Then the last point is the fact that it must not contradict public policy. So those are the conditions for the acceptability of any invention. So registration of trademarks, patent and industrial design is to be done at trademarks, patent and design registry, Commercial Law Department, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. This is the name of the ministry now. You know, as government changes in Nigeria, they may still change the name of the ministry. But those departments, the Department of Commercial Law is always there. There is this mistake that people usually make. When they want to register trademarks or patents, they call me that they want to do registration. Then I ask them, what are you doing registration about? They say trademark. Some people don't even know whether it is trademark or patent, but by their explanation, I'll be able to detect whether it is trademark or patent. Then why calling copyright office? That is the question. So it means that people mix these things up. And I'm hoping that with this discussion, we are able to go beyond these misrepresentations. Allah make it possible. So if you want to understand this thing that I'm talking about, just go and look at the provision of the law that I cited here, Patent and Designs Act. So that is the act that is responsible for all matters relating to patent and industrial design matters. Let us move to the next slide. Then now we are going to talk about duration of IP rights. Let us first start from copyright works. So literary works, let us correct that spelling, literary works. They are protected even after the death of the author. For instance, now, I am the author of Polygyny with Mercy. It means that may Allah grant us long life and prosperity. It means that my heirs, my family members can continue to benefit from my work even after my death. So it is 70 years. It will only expire after 70 years after my death. So 70 years after the end of the year of the death of the author. You can see how beneficial copyright is. Let us move to the next one. Artistic work. When you're talking about artistic work, what you have created that is in the field of art, this also enjoys 70 years protection, even after the death of the author. The next one, please. Now, okay, photography. You know, let us not forget that photography is also a form of art. Is an artistic work. But when it comes to protection, photography lines up with audiovisual and sound recording. So these works are protected even 50 years after the death of the author. So it means that one of the best things that you can do for your family is not just giving them food. Some people will die and their family will begin to get around. It's not good. Even from the son of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has encouraged us to leave our family wealthy. It's better for us to leave our family healthy than to leave them to begin to beg around after our death. So one of the best things that you can do for your family, and you can be assured of the reward that will be meeting after your death from Allah, because you are still taking care of your family members even after your death. This is a form of sadaqah jariyah. Allah make it easy for each and every one of us. So now, let us move to the next slide. Now, okay. There is the aspect of broadcast. I've explained this earlier, that all the things that the radio stations, TV stations, all the things that they do is broadcast. And there are modern means of broadcasting too these days that we may not avert our mind to. All these videos that we put on Facebook, they are broadcast. And by virtue of the fact that copyright works are protected, they are automatically protected. You cannot speak a lecture of a scholar, despite the fact that it is on Facebook. You cannot just download it and put it in a CD and start selling them. It is not proper. But we know these days, many of our scholars, they don't know this aspect of the law. They don't know their rights. That is why they leave people to benefit from their works. And you find out that many of these scholars, they don't have good job that fetches them means of income. And these days, one of the things that I've appreciated over the years is that we now have some scholars that are making money by posting their lectures on YouTube. The more people follow the lectures, the more they get paid by YouTube and so on. So we are going to be discussing this later, inshallah. But what we want us to understand from here is that broadcast works are protected even 50 years after the death of those who made them. Then regarding patent, we have moved to the part of industrial property now. And the first among them is patent. So in the first place, a patented work will last for 20 years. It can be extended between 20 to 30 years or more for other people now be made to have access to it so that they can use it. I'm thinking that one of the reasons why we now have many people making soaps these days is because the patents on those works are now have elapsed. That's why you see many people now they can now make soap from their home. It's because those who registered in the invention in the first place, they have exhausted the duration. So many people can now peep into the content, what they mix together to make that soup. And probably the reason why we now have different kinds of drinks that look like Coke. You will see some drinks, when you taste them, the difference between them and Fanta, it's not too much. You can see it's after the period of protection has expired that many other people can now go into that area and pick whatever they want. So in the case of trademarks, it is to be registered in the first place for 7 years. Then it can be renewed for another 7 years, making 14 years. You can see Trademarks Act, Chapter 13, because of the protection of material. Let us move to the next slide. Now, we need to explain something here, and that is what the experts in the field of IP or copyright refer to as public domain. What is public domain? It means that after the expiration of the years of protection granted to a particular work, then the work will now be in public domain, which means that everybody can now use it. The work is no more protected. And that is why you see these days the work of the likes of Shakespeare's, Macbeth, and several old books. Time has gone over them. So they were first protected. So 70 years after the death of the author, the books are now in public domain. You can see people, they just pick them up, print them anyhow without being subjected to any form of law enforcement. So as a copyright officer, you cannot make the mistake of arresting somebody who pirated Macbeth, because the year of protection has ended since. So this is what is meant by public domain. Then let us look at the rights available to inventors. There is economic right. The economic right is the right to make money from your invention. You know, as a writer, as an author, you have the right to benefit from your labor. It is not easy to write. You spend sleepless nights. It will not be proper for you to have many copies of your work with you. And there are people out there reprinting your work and selling them. They are even selling better than you. Some people will even print better books of better quality than your own. And they will even reduce the price to people and they'll be selling it. That is a breach of your economic rights. So it means that a writer or an author or an inventor has the right to benefit economically from what he has created. He alone has that right, except he wants to give it to some other people. So moral right, the moral right is that the credit of that work should always go to you. For instance, the person is the author of a book. On no occasion, on no ground, should anybody remove your name from that book. And if anybody takes anything from your book, it is important for them to, it is important for those people to refer to you in whatever work that you're doing. You have to put your name there. That is what is called moral rights. Then other rights that are available to inventors is that an inventor has the right to transfer his work to another person. And this is where I try to advise some of our brothers that are doing well, in the publishing industry. They are writing books. You have to know your rights. You have to understand what somebody who wants to buy your rights from you. When the word transfer or assignment is used, it means that you are selling your work. And after selling your work, you do not have the rights over that work again. And that is why you know that the amount of money that you are going to collect from the person who wants to buy your work is not the same amount of money that you collect from the person that you are licensing it to. So it means that there is difference between transfer and license. You license for a period of year. For instance, now the agreement that I have with Dakwa Corner regarding halal intimacy is just for 5 years. It started last year. So I gave them the right to print my book, Halal Intimacy from Islamic Perspective. So I gave them that right for 5 years. So each time they print, on each copy, I get paid royalty. So what the author is being paid over his work is royalty. So it is not advisable to sell your work. It is better to license them. But if you feel that, yes, you have several other works that you are enjoying from, yes, you can sell some of your works. And this is what some of our scholars are doing. May Allah continue to strengthen them. There are some of our scholars, some of these Islamic publishing industries will calm them in an hotel, maybe outside the country. They will give them, they will commission them, they'll tell them to translate some books, Arabic books, into English. And they do them like that. And what they do to them in that kind of situation is that they pay them off. You can imagine a scholar being paid 25 million naira for I'm just using this as an example, for transferring Riyadh al-Salihin from Arabic to English. You can see it's huge sum. So he loses his rights, his economic rights to that company. But he has not lost, because that 25 million, he can use it to invest in oil and gas, and it will bring more money. I hope you are getting. But he still retains that moral right, which means that that work will bear his name till the end of this world. And let us not also forget that the benefits derivable, the economic benefit derivable from the work that you have created does not stop your reward before Allah. And this is why we should always purify our intention, even in whatever we are doing. If you have an invention, if you have an innovation in your area of knowledge, may Allah bless our brother, the anchor of this program. I was very happy when he was reading his citation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to be with you. We are proud of you. So in the area of finance, as a chartered accountant, you can create many things for men that will benefit many companies. But very importantly, let these provisions of the law, let them guide you so that you don't make mistakes. One of our brothers recently, after transferring his work to an Islamic publishing house in UK also, he now went ahead and printed the work again in Nigeria. When he reported the matter to me, so I quickly advised him to apologize to that company. And that was all. Thank you very much. Let us move to the next slide. Now, okay. Now we are moving into the Islamic IP aspect of our discussion. Can we comfortably say that IP is recognized under the Islamic law? So the first thing we need to note is that scholars are divided on this question as to whether IP is acceptable under the Sharia or not. So let us see what the scholars have to say regarding this. Okay, we have the opponents of IP in Islamic law. They say no, Islamic law is not allowed. IP is not allowed under the Sharia. Say the first point they brought is that Islamic law only recognizes properties that are physically possessed. That is their argument. So when we say mal, the concept of mal, the concept of assets, they regard it as something that is fixed, something that you can touch. That is what this category of scholars refer to as mal. They don't consider what you have in your brain as an asset. The second point is that they believe IP. By our explanation earlier, you should understand what IP is all about now. That is what will make you to appreciate this second point that the scholars who are opposed to Islamic IP are trying to drive home. They say kitman, hoarding of knowledge. They say IP leads to hoarding of knowledge, and this is not good. So it means that when people have control, exclusive control over what they dish out in terms of knowledge, it means that there are some people that will be hiding that knowledge. They want to use knowledge to make money. And this is why we are talking about the fact that as Muslims, this is highly discouraged in Islam. If this is removed from the concern, then we can see that we are good to go. Then another point is the point of class. Okay, that the IP concept is capable of painting the intention of a Muslim in producing beneficial things to society. One thing I want us to understand now is that the inventions that we are talking about, the innovation, the creativity that we are talking about, it's not just creativity relating to Islamic matters. When we are talking about books, we are not talking about books that are in relation to Islamic matters. Books generally, they are beneficial, except books that are not beneficial by virtue of their content. How you can get this? So whatever you are creating, even if the Christians, the non-Muslims are benefiting from it, if you have good intention regarding it, Allah will reward you. So let's just say that this, okay, we are going to be talking about the concept of man later in the course of our discussion. But let us just look at this concern of the opponent of IP in Islamic law. We can see this, these concerns are genuine. That is why when you see divergent opinion of scholars, you don't criticize them. They have their reasons for whatever they do. Let us move to the next slide. Now, one of the opponents of IP, based on what I've researched upon, is Al-Imam As-Sabuni. He has a very rigid position against IP rights. So one of his books, Al-Madkhal Al-Dirasat Shari'ah Complinance, find it there. That is where he made that rigid position against IP rights. If you want to read further on this, on the position of the opponent of IP under the Sharia, read this paper. This paper is very beneficial. I still have it. The justification of intellectual property right in Islamic law. So let us move to the position of the proponent of IP under Islamic law. And this is where we are. We are for the IP to be accommodated by Islamic law. Okay, let us look at it from the point of Hifzul Aql. It is one of the maqasid al-Sharia, protection of intellect. So this point alone shows that IP is not something that is unknown to Islamic law. Because one of the things that Islam is out to protect, one of the objectives of Islamic law is hifzul aql, protection of the brain, protection of intellect. If somebody uses his brain to produce things for the society, then he should benefit from it. Another point that has been raised by the proponent of IP Islamic law is hifzul mal, that a person has the right to protect his wealth. And the Sharia has as one of its major objectives protection of people's wealth. So the area of divergence between some scholars, they argued so much about it, whether IP is something that we can regard as mal or not. This generated serious controversy between the scholars. But what we want us to get from this is that IP is wealth, because one way or the other, it brings fortune. Let us go to the next slide. For us to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to protect our wealth, you are not to consume the wealth of another person wrongly. Look at this verse. Quran 2, verse 1, it's وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَكُمْ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتُدْلُوا بِهَا إِلَى الْحُكَّامِ تَأْكُلُوا فَرِيقًا مِنْ أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ بِالْإِثْمِ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. This verse is just very clear to the effect that Islam is a religion that protects people's wealth. The next slide. Now, let us look at this point. Property is property once it is deemed to be such based on people's custom and usage. So, and that is what has led to a kind of opinion from some of the scholars that tried to differentiate a property and its use of fraud. What the property is being used for. You know, if we are to talk about the property alone, we say that okay, this person owns this property. But what about the benefits derivable from that property? So this will make us to understand that in a given society, if something is deemed to be wealth, then that thing is wealth. And in the world that we are today, what is very common and what most people now understand to be property is beyond just immovable property. It's beyond what is tangible. Intangible property are now well known to a lot of people. And that is what IP is all about. So through IP, though IP is an intangible asset, unlike money or physical properties, even these days, it is now very clear that it is not it is now very clear that sometimes you may not have anything in your pocket to call money, but you have money in bank. Is that still not your asset? It is. Even though you cannot touch it, it is still your asset. So, unlike physical properties, it also deserves protection. What people have in their head that they have used to create things for other people, it is a kind of wealth and can make money, can make profits, can make economic benefit from it. Let's go on. Now, Al-Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, was said to have given wider explanation regarding the concept of mal, as if he had known that this time will come that we may not be able to be holding cash all the time. You just pick your phone, transfer money to people. You have not touched it. You have not touched the money, but you have money in an account and you are transferring it. It is still your wealth. So it is not compulsory that you should have something to touch before you can call it your own. People have intangible assets. And in Nigeria today, we are also emulating, we are embracing some of these innovations. Now, looking at this definition, the wide definition given by Al-Imam Shafi'i, which says that it's not only tangible property that should be protected. Both tangible and intangible property are property that should be recognized under the Sharia. This corresponds with the definition given by Salmon, one of the legal experts.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam.
August lecture, just to draw your attention to time. We have about 5 to 10 minutes for you to wrap up the lecture.
Okay, inshallah, we're going to wrap up very soon. So based on this view of Al-Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, Al-Imam Yusuf Musa, in his work, Al-Amwal wa Na'ariyat al-Aqd, made this statement, a very clear statement. And this is what we are upon. We are not upon the view of the opponents of IP under Islamic law. We are supporting IP as a branch of Islamic law. So he says everything from which benefits can be derived is property, provided that the acquisition of benefits therefrom is not prohibited under the Sharia. So the only condition by which a work may not qualify as a form of IP under the Sharia is for it to be prohibited by a verse of the Quran or hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the classical sayings of the Salaf. Okay. Let us move to the next slide. Okay. Now, for us to understand that IP is all about fighting piracy and counterfeiting. Piracy has put a lot of people into trouble in this country of ours. You see some people, they invest millions into producing some IP works. And at the end of the day, their works are pirated and they become insolvent. They must have taken from loans from different parts. And this is one of the dangerous effects of piracy in the world. Especially internet piracy is now everywhere. Then counterfeiting. Even counterfeiting goes beyond the piracy when it comes to evil. These days, you see some people claiming to have cure for some diseases. They try to replicate some drugs made by some experts. And at the end of the day, they end up killing a lot of people. So we can see the great evil in both piracy and counterfeit. So for us to understand the essence of IP and why it is dangerous to allow piracy and counterfeiting to continue, you remember the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as reported by Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Inna Allah tayyib la yaqbal illa tayyib." Hadith is reported by Imam Muslim. The next slide. While explaining this hadith, I heard from Sheikh Ibrahim Abu Nasir Ibrahim condemning piracy, because he's a writer too. He knows the kind of evils that people are perpetrating in Nigeria. Works of reputable publishing organizations like Darussalam, Dakwakwana, outside the country, they have been pirated anyhow in Nigeria. And one thing is that there are international treaties that bind us with those countries. There was a time I was speaking with Dr. Bilal Phillips. He was telling me categorically that a lot of his books are pirated in Nigeria. So one of the scholars in Al-Azhar University said piracy is the worst type of theft and is prohibited by Islam. So let us move. We don't have much time here, so I just wish that we can, okay, yes. Can IP rights be waived? Yes, IP rights can be waived. If a scholar believes that, okay, he wants to do things to people for free, no problem. But an example that I gave is the work of Imam Afghani, Case the Muslim. You see people are printing it here and there. There are many works of Sheikh Bombaz that are not protected. Yes, you can print them the way you like. But as for scholars who wish to benefit from their own work and they put copyright in their work, you are not allowed to deal with them anyhow. Let us move to, okay, so some of these acts that constitute IP fraud, let us note them. Let us just note them. Let us move to the next topic. I think I've explained all of these things before. Okay. Now, why Muslims must embrace IP? Why Muslims must embrace IP? We cannot afford to isolate ourselves from the remaining part of the world. As Muslims, we have to embrace IP. We are in a globalized world. So one of the most lucrative economy today is IP. Without IP, nothing will be left for this world. Let us move on. Muslim has what we call population advantage. You can see we constitute 1.1/5% of humanity. And over 20% of the world's land mass belongs to the Muslim. So we have both natural and human resources to succeed in the area of IP. So even in the Committee of Nations, the Muslim countries that are controlled by Muslims are just 1/3 of the membership of the UN. Go and check. Then Muslim control up to 56 countries all over. So all of this they are beneficial things to us that we need to take cognizance of. Now, the next. So I just try to mention all of this. Look at this point now. Saudi Aramco is now the largest oil production company in the world with 590.3 billion revenue. Consider that's very significant. So we should all know. We should note all these international treaties and how they affect our situations as Muslims and our industry, the Islamic finance industry. Let us move on. Okay, now I tried my best to note some of those part of IP that are not Islamic. look at music and sound recording containing instrumentals. They are not allowed in Islam, except with few exceptions. Maybe when Muslims are doing wedding or doing Eid festivals. So animate painting and drawings, we are not allowed to engage in them. Although when it comes to photography, there are some of the scholars that said, okay, photography is not haram in Islam. But majority of scholars are telling us to be careful of them. So films, they are not allowed. They are not allowed. But the few exceptions that I think are allowed under films is that films that do not have instrumentals. There are some films that people make to teach people the lives of the companions, the lives of the prophets. Those ones that can be protected under Islamic IP, Then carving too. What are you carving? If what you are carving is wood carving, if it is animate, then it is not allowed. But if it is not animate, there is no problem about it. Let's move on. So I mentioned some other ones too. Look at comedy skits. Look at how some people, in the name of comedy, they are lying. It is not good to lie, whether you want to make people laugh or not. So this is not, we cannot accommodate this other IP. But you know, IP generally in the conventional sector, they accommodate just anything. But as Muslims, all we just need to do is to regulate the system and evict those items under IP that are not Islamic. And we are good to go. Let's move on. We cannot afford to throw the baby away with bait water. You can look at this one now. Immoral TV shows. The most prominent among them is Big Brother Africa. Big Brother Nigeria too. Big Brother Nigeria. All these things, they are protected under our law. Even pornography is protected under conventional IP. But what we are saying is that we should remove them. Look at surrogacy, illegal ART, all of these things. I think we are able to get that. Let us move to the next one. I've discussed all of this. We can always look at them and understand what we are trying to say. Let us move on. There's no time. Now we are talking about where we are going. Areas of opportunity for Islamic finance industry. So having in mind those aspects that we have removed from IP and those aspects that individuals can also remove by ourselves based on our convictions and based on different schools of Islamic law. There are many other areas that can bring fortune to the Muslim community if we engage in them. Please, let us start from number one. Let us start from, I will just mention them. I will not go deep into them. So that is the purpose of PowerPoint. It doesn't require too much of explanation. So literature, you can get that very clear. And broadcast. But this aspect of broadcast is what I'll be calling the Muslim community and the financial sector, the Islamic financial sector. We need to take charge of this area. Otherwise, we'll be left with no choice than to allow those who know not to take charge of everything. And that is what is happening to us. Up to this moment, we don't have a reputable Islamic TV channel. Even in the area of newspapers, How many Islamic newspapers do we have in Nigeria today? So the Islamic finance sector in Nigeria should go into all these areas. Look at Islamic, we have Sunnah TV, but they only hear Hausa lectures. So unfortunately, if I have the opportunity to speak with the owner of Sunnah TV, Malam Disina, inshallah, we will find time to invite him. So the social media too, we can use it to bring illicit profit to our table. Some people think that when you are pressing phone, you are just, I do tell some people that if I don't press phone, I will not have money in my pocket. So when you are pressing phone, know what you are pressing phone about. Not just pressing phone and be doing all sorts of things, just be playing, be watching people's statuses. You too, you should place what you are doing on your WhatsApp status. Let people see that what you have to offer. Many of my books are sold through my WhatsApp status. Many of my books are sold through my Facebook status. The part of the areas our scholars can go into is translation of Arabic text into different languages. We have some of our scholars that are doing well in this area. This is an area that is full of opportunities for both the Muslim community and Islamic finance sector. Let us move on. Talent grooming, we have to start now. Let us not wait until our children grow older. Let us try to watch our children right from primary school. What do they like doing? Apart from being educated, they must have some values to add to the society. The Islamic financial sector can help us in this area. They can gather the best among the Muslims with IT skills in various universities, hire globally recognized firms to train them to become future experts in this area. And the major problem Nigeria is facing today is that we are not producing anything. We are a consumption ground. We do not export. You see, many containers will come into Nigeria filled. And at the end of the day, when the containers are going back, they go back without anything there. This is part of what we are facing. So Nigeria needs to develop in the area of production. Agriculture is another area. There are several other areas. Let us move to conclusion. I think we can read that on our own. So in conclusion, intellectual property must be propagated to the Muslim world according to the Sharia. Just as I have written a book recently, Halal Sex and Intimacy, to draw the attention of Muslims away from haram sexual content, haram sexual activity, then we can use IP, those that are Islamic compliant, and we can use them to bring fortune to the Muslim community. It is like the Muslims are the poorest people in the world, despite the fact that we have been the richest black man on earth is a Muslim, Aliko Dangote. But when you see the way of life of Muslims, Muslims occupy larger percentage when it comes to the population of those that are engaged in begging. Not only street begging, look at social media begging now. It's prevalent. This is the only way by which you can solve all these problems. The discussion that we are having today is just an attempt for us to simplify IIP to an extent. Then there is pressing need to engage all the stakeholders in this industry, lawyers, Islamic law judges, Islamic finance experts, and institutions, Islamic organizations, relevant government agencies, and international organizations to channel a way forward for this important sector. Pray Almighty Allah makes this beneficial to us in this world and thereafter. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.
Nah, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. We thank you very much, Barrister Abdullateef, for that insightful and interesting discourse. You have really exposed us to the concept of intellectual property. You have also allowed us to know the forms of intellectual properties that we have, even though most of us we confuse them together before. But today, for anyone who is on this forum, I think that is properly explained and understood. So we say Jazakumullah khairan for that. And also, you also made us to know the conditions by which we can be able to protect our intellectual properties. And you also draw the Muslim attention to the need to, to embrace intellectual property so as to improve our lot as a Muslim community. So Jazakumullah khairan for that. Now, without waste of our time, I will call on our mentors to actually come to contribute for a period of like 10 minutes. The first person I will call is no other person but our benefactor and our mentor, the magnanimity of the person without which we will not be here today. And that is Dr. Abdullahi Ishola. I will call him to have the speaker and make his contribution before we call on other mentors. Thank you very much. Doctor, you have the mic, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much. I think it's better we first give room to other mentors, and we also have our fellowship registrar with us. So I think we can first call our dear mentor, Mr. Muhammad Musa Jove. I think let him make his intervention first before I do mine. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, I think there was no background noise there. Okay, let me call on our the registrar. So can you raise up your hand so that you can make your intervention? Sister Rahima. Okay. Sister Rahima. Is Sister Rahima with us?
Please unmute her.
Yes, I've
Unmute
asked
her.
her to unmute. Okay, if you have other people, let me just make my brief comment before you proceed to handle the questions and answer session. Alhamdulillah, we want to thank our brother Abdullateef for this very insightful presentation. May Allah continue to reward you abundantly. Part of the brief contributions I want to make is for our various Islamic finance institutions to begin to look beyond the conventional platform, because this is one of my own major concerns about our Islamic finance industry. Islamic finance industry in Nigeria is not developing independently, and it appears that we are not working towards that in having a kind of independent development for that sector in the nearest time to come. Last week, one of the sessions we had was on pension, and the mentor that came made this so clear to us that part of the challenges the Islamic pension sector is facing is lack of investment outlet where they can invest in halal industry. So I believe that IP and some other sectors will create a lot of opportunities. So perhaps our guest speaker may also want to shed more light in that regard on areas of means by which investment outlets can be created in the area of IP, which the government can now tap into as part of the Shari'ah compliant investment portfolios, which they can henceforth allow pension industries, Islamic pension industry, to invest the pension fund of those who have subscribed to the Islamic Sharia compliant fund. So this is one of the things. And also for those of us who are aspiring to go into Islamic finance, we are bringing all these various aspects of the Islamic finance industry so that we will not just be stereotyped, because mostly people see Islamic finance majorly as concerning Islamic banking. That was how it used to be. But now they are narrowing it down to Islamic banking, Islamic insurance, takaful, and Islamic capital market, sukuk. So we still need to open our hearts and mind to see that there are other many sectors which we can explore. And one should not limit himself to just one aspect of focusing on Islamic banking and Islamic insurance alone. So we should open our eyes. So this is just my contributions. So I want to thank our facilitator for the wonderful knowledge he has shared with us. May Allah continue to benefit him. And I also, on behalf of the MUNFIQ family, we want to congratulate him on his new book, which is going to be made public by 17th June 2023, inshallah. So for those who are in Abuja and elsewhere, so you are cordially invited to that public launching, which is going to take place at the National Mosque, inshallah. And we should all endeavor to get the book. This is also one of the ways we can promote our intellectual effort. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, our good mentor. So by now, I assume we don't have any other mentor to contribute today. So with that, we move to the questions and answer session, so that if we have some gray areas that some of our attendees today want the lecturer to shed more light on, so this is an avenue for you. You have the chat box to to do this. You can send your questions to this chat box, or you raise up your hand so that we can call you and you ask your question in person. But let me introduce to you Sister Aminat Ajun Fatai. She will be the one to anchor this question and answer session. So just to tell you that I did not come alone. Thank you very much. So, Sister Aminat Ajun Fatai, you have the mic, please. Please, you can raise up your hand so that we can unmute you. Or you can also unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah khairan to the lecturer for today for dishing out such an intellectual discussion, because indeed that is also an intellectual property of his, and we appreciate that from him. So we have a question here for you, sir. And the first one is that, what are some of the opportunities available for Muslims to pitch their ideas of business? So the questioner wants you to tell us the opportunities available for Muslims to pitch their idea of business. And the second one is that, okay, it's still the same question. What this person means is that they want you to talk about firms that are dedicated to be venture capitals or angel investors for their business ideas, for them to grow.
Okay, thank you very much, my sister. Allah continue to assist us. Just as I've said in the course of the session, everything has to do with creativity. Nobody is ready to spoon feed anybody again. So the reason why these discussion need to come up now is for us to know that IP is a very wide area. The only thing that can hinder us is our deal. That is, we are not going to deal in any IP aspect that is not in consonance with the predictions of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet. We are aware that many Muslims don't care. There are many Muslims out there, they don't care. They just engage in whatever they like and call it talent. There are Muslims who are going into comedy, that I said earlier. Like I said earlier, there are Muslims who are going into it. They lie to get money. There are many Muslims among movie makers, and we are already aware that these areas are not Islamic. So we don't need to go into them. Apart from these areas, I have been able to mention several other areas in the course of our discussion. But because of time, we could not go further than what we're able to discuss. Look at the area of agriculture. It is all about sitting down, do a proposal on what you feel can assist the society in feeding themselves. You know, when feeding is removed from people's problem, a lot of problem has been solved. And now a lot of money is being spent by the federal government to reduce poverty in Nigeria. So how much has this been effective? So we need to sit down and draw some proposals for the federal government and carry along relevant government agencies as well as stakeholders to ensure that whatever we propose come to success. And the best way by which we can do this is to involve the financial sector. not just the Islamic commercial banks. There are several other international organizations that are interested in uplifting people. There is this concept known as the concept of called the hazard. We study that concept very well. The concept that allows people to access beneficial loan that can be waived at any time. The Islamic Development Bank is there. Now we have WIPO office in Nigeria. So through the agricultural sector, through the broadcast sector, and several other areas that I've been able to mention during the course of the discussion, we can draw proposals and carry some of these stakeholders along. And I can assure you that the sky will not even be our limit. While discussing with Dr. Shoba before discussion, we have already started thinking about having a kind of forum by which we are going to gather experts in the finance sector, the Islamic finance sector, involve the NCC, WIPO, and several other government agencies responsible for lifting millions of people out of poverty. From there, we are good to go. Allah make it easy for us. Now,
Yes, you can start calling people that have raised up their hand so that we can unmute them, they ask their question, and the lecturer give them a response to their questions. Sister Aminat, on to you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My name is Ahmed Abdul Mohamed Mikhail from Islamic Law Department, Faculty of Law, Kwasi University. I want to quickly appreciate our lecturer today, our brother, Sheikh Ibn Sudaisi, for the very interesting lecture he has given us. But in my own case, I just want to draw him back a little for the fact that in the course of his lecture, my data was exhausted. So in one aspect, which is very important, I couldn't understand that aspect. So I want him to quickly give a summary of it to us. Like under Islamic law, perspective of IP, we have scholars who are divided. Some do not support the idea of IP. Then the other position, that is where I have problem because that was when the connection cut off. So please, our lecturer, I want us to do a quick summary of the position of scholar that actually sanctioned IP from Islamic law perspective. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. During the course of the discussion, we mentioned that some scholars are against IP being included under Islamic law. And we also said that there are proponents of IP under the Sharia. And we mentioned some of the grounds upon which their proposition is based. Part of it is Hifzul Aql, protection of the intellect. As we have all known as students of Islamic law, we know that. Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please, I just have an intervention, sir. Okay. Based on this question that was asked, I think you actually dwelled very well on it. during the lecture.
So
So
probably
the lecture will be posted on our social
PowerPoint.
media platform so that we can give access to others who are
But
already raising up their hands.
he can consult me privately.
Yeah.
He's my good friend.
Okay, sir. Yes, thank you
In
very
order
much, sir.
not to waste time.
Exactly, because we have very little time for this session, sir. So, Sister Aminat, I think I can see Sister Adija raising up her hand. Maybe you may mute her and unmute her and call her.
Walaikum salam.
Now, thanks so much for the very educative one. Allah increase your knowledge and may He continue to preserve you upon goodness for us. So these are my questions, and I actually have a contribution as well, based on my experience regarding the issue of intellectual property. So my question is, how do you think government can actually do this? Because based on what we actually learned in class, if we continue to allow people to protect what they
I can't hear you any longer.
Oh, it's like we lost the connection. I think maybe she has lost her connection.
And I've not been able to get what she was trying to.
So yeah. I've not either. I've not had what she's trying to do. Give us. Okay. For now, an inventor, for example, for anyone who has a copyright, he has moral rights as well as the economic rights.
Yes.
You laid down the the number of years for each of those types of work and the number of years they have for their protections. But in terms of moral rights, I didn't hear you mention the number of years, but I inferred that maybe the moral right
moral
is for
right
life.
Is forever. It's forever.
Okay,
you don't
so
remove the name of a scholar from his book.
Okay.
It will be there forever.
Okay, thank you very much. And another thing which was also unclear,
just like the inventor of TV,
okay, sir.
The name is there forever.
Okay.
People will continue to remember the person that, okay, this is the inventor of TV. It will not be removed.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that intervention. Then, in the area of ordering of knowledge, as part of the people or the scholars who actually are against the protection of intellectual property, you mentioned something which I would like you to also shed more light on the issue of the fact that ordering of knowledge as part of the a case against this intellectual property protection. So if but you mentioned something that if the ordering of knowledge has been removed, that we are good to go as Muslims to protect our rights. So now my question is that for somebody who has already protected his IP, and that yes, he expects people to pay before they have access to it. So having people to pay before they access it, can we classify that as part of ordering of knowledge, or it is not? Thank you very much, sir.
That is not hoarding. It is just like the case of a farmer. A farmer is an intellectual too in his own angle because of the fact that he has used his brain to plant. So after planting the seeds, it germinates. At the end of the day, the farm produce is harvested, you will have to sell it. You cannot say he is hoarding it by getting money before delivering the goods to those who want to buy it. That is the same way you cannot blame a writer or an author for collecting money before giving his book to another person. Do you get it?
Yes, yes.
So
well explained,
just,
sir.
you know, many people understand this example of the farmer not wanting to give out his farm produce.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
and there are people who give out farm produce for free. The same way we have people who give out their books for free. Like me now, when we published an Sex and Intimacy, I cannot even count the number of books that I gave out that time. Perhaps because it was my first publication. But now I'm going to be selling everything except some few people that I will be giving. And the scholars, I always give the scholars free of charge, so that they can read it and bring out their corrections, so that we can be able to take the project to another level by correcting some of the mistakes found in the present book later in the future. So trying to get a reward for one's creative work
Yes, sir.
is not kitman, it's not hoarding. It will be hoarding if the person says he's not going to release his knowledge at all. I will not teach anybody. It is only me that knows this aspect of Nahu. I will not teach anybody. That is not good. It is only me in this area that knows how to recite the Quran properly. So I will not teach anybody. That is what is haram under the Sharia.
Yes.
If that is removed, then we are good to go.
Thank you very much, sir. Without wasting much of our time, the next item on the agenda is the presentation of certificate of appreciation to our guest lecturer for today. And I would like to call on our own Dr. Abdullahi Shola to please present the certificate of appreciation to our guest lecturer, Barrister Abdullateef Abdullahi. Thank you very much, sir. You have the mic, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ustaz Yakuba Ilada to do that, so he can unmute himself. Did you hear me?
Yes, I heard you.
Okay.
Mr. Yakuba Ila, you have the mic, sir, to present the certificate of appreciation, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. In fact, if I'm to say anything, just like the normal slogan that words failed me, and that's what I will have said, because the presentation actually went beyond my expectation, and we have benefited a lot, as the scholar really did justice.
Sorry, Brother Yakub. While you are making your introduction, just give me 1 minute for me to display the certificate. Sorry.
Okay, sir. So I want to sincerely thank the presenter, and we are more educated and enlightened about the topic. Many of us have been going around saying copyright, industrial property, industrial design, literally what we don't understand. We don't have the deep understanding of it. But as we have learned from you now, I want to assure you that you have benefited a lot of people. And we want to thank Almighty Allah for what He has done in your life. And we pray Almighty Allah continue to increase you in knowledge and make your life more beneficial to humanity. And we also pray Almighty Allah, the forthcoming 17th of next month is 18th of next month is a successful one. Almighty Allah will do immeasurably. Thank you very much. We sincerely appreciate you. And we still look forward to have some other presentations from you, inshallah. So while we are waiting for Dr. Ishola, I know you are a writer and you have authored a lot of books. I'm going to divert a little, but it still has to do with IP, intellectual property that we are talking about. And that is in the area of plagiarism that we have been talking about. If I may ask, is there a particular length of work that one can pick from an author or from his book and reference it, or it must be paraphrased? Because we see some academic writings, even up to the level of master's and PhD, people will go and copy about half of a page from someone's book and paste it, then
Assalamu alaikum.
And you feel that you want to present his idea to in the course of your own work. So the best thing is for you to paraphrase. And when you are paraphrasing, you have to be very careful. There are some paraphrase that could amount to plagiarism if care is not taken. So if you want to take from another person's work, you can either quote them directly or paraphrase. But the extent of the paraphrase should not should be limited. Understand? It is better to read the whole idea and get the gist of what the person is trying to say. Then explain it in your own language. Then you still have to put the reference there. I hope you get this one now. But if it is just a phrase that somebody used that is very unique in his own work, you can pick the phrase and put it in your own book, but you have to reference it. I've read several works of experienced scholars in the international level. For example, Professor A. Oba, sometimes they will quote a scholar up to 1 or 2 lines, but the quotation mark will be there. Then the person will be referenced. The work of that person will be referenced in the footnote. So I think that is clear.
Thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate the response.
Yes.
and is well understood and taken. So the certificate is here. So I want to tell our scholar that we cannot appreciate you enough. It is Almighty Allah that will reward you for what you have done for us, and will reward you abundantly in this world and the hereafter. So this is just to show a kind of appreciation, and not is below what we have done for us. We say Jazakumullahu khaira as I present the certificate.
I really appreciate MUNFIQ Academy for this certificate. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you all abundantly. Thanks for this great opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. Jazakumullahu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yakub Ainla, for the presentation. And we say thank you to our guest lecturer for everything he has taught us today. He even, exposed our, our horizon to areas of businesses that we have not been looking at as Islamic finance. Especially for your contributions. So without wasting our time, I would like to call the registrar of this mentor program in person of Sister Rashida to please give a vote of thanks to our guest lecturer and everybody. Sister Rahima, sorry for that. So please, Sister Rahima, you have the mic. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum. Now, thank you, brother. Jazakumullah khairan to the speaker. Really appreciate your time and your knowledge sharing with us. We really appreciate it. Jazakumullah khairan. And to the audience, really appreciate your time too for being here. And we hope you'll be able to benefit. You will benefit greatly from this session. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it beneficial to us all. Amen. And lastly, before I ended, the last time I wanted to comment, but I didn't get to unmute myself. Okay, so just brief addition to everything that has been said so far. Like, the issue of intellectual property, like in this era of technology, era of IT, we need to be more conscious of people's work, our corporate or people. Let me say people's work. Let me put it that way, and particularly that we are students of knowledge, because there's now how do I put it, a kind of a detector where people, institutions or researchers used to detect any plagiarism issue. There's a recent case, like just 2 days ago, when someone referenced or submitted an application or a paper, and unfortunately it was detected through an AI app that the person used ChatGPT. So we need to be very careful. That's one that we have idea or want to develop our own ideas. We should take a further step to read further, to be able to form our own thoughts and write something on our own, or perhaps like the lecturer have said, that even though we are going to take from the work of others, it should be appropriately referenced. We pray Allah continue to ease our face and want to increase us in knowledge. Amen. So to the speaker, we really appreciate your time with us, and to everyone that are present here, we really appreciate your time. We pray Allah reward everyone, and to the director, really appreciate your, like, how will I put it, your passion for this cause has enabled us to be able to be here together this evening. We pray Allah reward you. I mean, the person of Dr. Abdullah, I pray Allah reward you abundantly too. Jazakumullah khairan, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Jazakumullah khairan, Sister Rahima. Now, we have actually come to the end of today's session, and we believe it has been very insightful, and it has been very, it has been a platform for knowledge sharing and exposure to things that were not known to many of us before. Jazakumullah khairan. So with this, I will call on all the participants to open their camera to have a snapshot for the today's program, so as just to archive it for future reference. Thank you very much. And I would also like to say anybody that is not here today has really missed a lot. So if we have any of our mentees who are not here but who have a connection, one connection or the other with any one of us, please let us encourage everybody to always be part of this program, because people have really invested their time in making sure that this program comes to play. And the only appreciation we can give them is to attend this program and to benefit from it as they have emphasized, so that this will also add to their own scale of reward. Inshallah, please let us encourage each other to always be prompt and present in this program. Thank you very much. So everybody, please, let's put on our camera. I believe, Doctor, please help us snap for future reference and for archiving. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so we assume that these are the people that want to show their camera, so that we will quickly wrap up the program. Doctor, have we been able to capture the pictures? Hello. Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Wa alaikum salam. Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, with this, we have come to the end of today's session, which is the 12th session of MUNFIQ Islamic Finance Mentorship Program 2023 edition. We say Jazakumullah khairan to everybody here, and to conclude the program, let everybody recite Surah Al-Asr for the conclusion of the program. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
والعصر إن الإنسان
لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khairan.
اللهم بحمدك نشهد أن لا
إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.